welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. I'm Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Woohoo! Would you love a postnatal vitamin that can also support your healthy milk supply? Milky's Nursing Blend Complete Postnatal Vitamin is a 2-in-1 supplement with vitamin D and vitamin B, made especially for lactating people. With added fenugreek and fennel, this vitamin not only gives you what you need in your postpartum recovery, but also supports your milk supply. Head to fairhavenhealth.com and use promo code BADASS for 10% off your order. And today, nursing to sleep. We're going to talk about nursing to sleep, and you're going to love it because I know you all want to hear about it and have heard lots of things about it.
Oh my God, this topic, I can't even tell you like how much I get in my soapbox about this sometimes.
I know. So let's do the review of the week and then let's climb up onto our soapboxes.
Oh my God. Okay. I can't wait.
Okay. So review of the week is going to be from 8 Catery 8. I think I'm reading that right. 8 Catery 8. I wish I found this podcast last year. It has given me so much solace in the parenting choices my wife and I choose. We need more of Abby's and Diane's in this country.
Aww.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I don't know if my kids would agree they need more of me in this country, but somebody thinks that there should be more of me around.
There's a lot of people be like, yeah, one Abby, that's good. That's good. That's all right.
Oh my God. So... nursing to sleep.
Yeah. So nursing to sleep. Yeah. So there's so much confusion about this because people often will say, am I creating a bad habit?
Oh my God. That's
by
all
nursing my child to sleep. This is the big thing, right? They're worried. We get really worried that we're creating a bad habit and that our child is never going to be able to then soothe themselves without nursing. So let's see, where do we start?
All right, let me start for a second because this is like, okay. I had a mom call me not too long ago that I saw, and she called me and she was talking about, I don't know if I'm starting bad habits and da-da-da. Okay, how old's the baby? 7 days old.
Oh my goodness.
People.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's very young.
Like, your baby, and I tell this to people I don't care how, your baby needs you. I don't understand where it got lost, where we birth this baby, and then we should automatically, like, be setting them up to leave and to fend for themselves. Like, they are babies. They cannot deal with life on their own. They can't. Like, you have to nurture them. They need that. You are not creating any kind of bad habit if you respond to their needs. It is not a bad thing. You need to, like, if they nursing to sleep, you're like, oh, well, they said just let him cry and sit in nursing sleep. Why are we doing that? He's not going to nurse to sleep until he's 20. My kid's not nursing to sleep still. Like, he's 18 years old. I nursed him to sleep until he stopped nursing. He's not nursing still. Like, he doesn't even let me give him a kiss. I tried to sit on the couch next to him today and he pushed me away. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
my 4-year-old and 7-year-old do that. So
right? Like, they are not going to be nursing forever. This is a kid. They're babies. They need you. They are not manipulating you. They are not trying to get one over on you. They are not trying to stay up late and watch Netflix. They just want to be with you and to be soothed and comforted. That's all they need out of their life. They just
want to nurse. So, like, the thing is, like, babies are born to breastfeed.
Right.
This is what they're born to do. They're not born to soothe themselves in any other way. They don't know how.
They don't know how.
And a pacifier, you think the whole thing about, you know what a pacifier, the pacifier? Mm-hmm. That is a pretend boob.
Right.
Like, this is how they soothe themselves, by sucking on your boob. This is how humans are wired. This is what they're made to do. It's not a bad habit. We see it and I think this stems from, this is a cultural thing, right? Mm-hmm. Where we want force everybody to be independent really young. Like, oh, they're still breastfeeding at 6 months old. I mean, that's too old. That they should be, learning how to do other things by then. Why? They're 6 months old. They've been on the planet for 6 months.
They should be cooking a steak.
Why should they be learning other things? Right. Yeah. They should be learning how to balance their checkbook, because that's a skill that they're going to need when they're an adult. I mean, you don't need to know anything else except how to breastfeed when you're 6 months old. You really don't. That's all you need to know. Like, good. And you know what? That's really hard to learn.
It is.
It's a thing they have to learn. Like, they need to focus. Like focus on one thing. They need to learn how to breastfeed. That's all. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to worry about. You don't have to learning the life skills class with the balancing of the checkbook and how to make dinner and all this stuff will come later. Once they figure this part out.
It is like, and I almost feel like I'm demeaning a new family when I'm telling them this. But it's like, they're honest to God. They're sitting there and they're like, but if I pick them up whenever they cry, isn't that going to start a bad habit? If I nurse them to sleep, like my doctor said, that's going to start bad habits.
Yes,
it's like,
that's the thing, is that this is coming from trusted sources.
Right. And the internet and everywhere else that they're saying, and whoever, whatever grandmother, mother, aunt, whoever, mother-in-law is telling you, don't pick up the baby, don't nurse the baby to sleep, put them down awake so they can learn how to fall asleep on their own. They are babies. They don't know how to do this yet. The time will come when they do. And then, then it happens. But until then, I think what is really getting lost is that if you throw them out there, it's like throwing a kid into the pool and just saying, oh, he'll learn to swim if I throw him into the pool. Yeah, and he'll be traumatized forever. He's not going to go, oh, yeah, sign me up for the swim team now. Now I know how to swim. So these babies, the more you nurture them, the more confident they are in soothing themselves to sleep.
Yes, so, you will hear in the attachment parenting world, you say, the more you foster that dependence when they're young, the more independent they will be later.
Absolutely.
That's how it goes. With it, this is not normal. This whole the creating this distance between ourselves and our babies from such a young age and forcing this independence. And what does that even mean? I don't know. The self-soothing, that term, self-soothe, it makes me so sick.
I know.
Like, what, I can't self-soothe.
I know.
I can't.
Look at the things we do to self-soothe. We drink or smoke. That's what people do to self-soothe.
Yesterday. Yes. I told you. So I told Diane yesterday we had to cancel our recording because Exley bumped his head and he started acting weird. I had to bring him to the doctor. I was driving. He got so scared to go to the doctor. He didn't want to go. And so we're trying to convince him with a brownie to get in the car. And we get in the car and he's like, no, he doesn't want the brownie. He's not feeling well. I ate the whole brownie in 2 bites. That's self-soothing, people.
Yeah.
Does that sound healthy?
No, it doesn't.
No, this is not, no. This is not self-soothing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing for a 6-month-old baby or any kind of child. No. Or anybody. Nobody self-soothes. There's ways to care for yourself, of course, but we are dependent on other people.
But
all of us, even adults.
What I don't understand, I know exactly, even as adults we are. What I don't understand is then you have these women that are saying over and over again, oh my gosh, my baby's growing so fast. He doesn't want me to lay with him anymore. He doesn't want me to do this. It's but then you're the one that pushed him off the boob. Why? Why are we pushing these kids into independence and then crying over the fact that they're independent?
Because people are telling us that this is what we're supposed to do, and it feels horrible.
Mm-hmm. It does.
What feels good is to nurse your baby, to lay down with your baby in this comfortable bed, and nurse them to sleep. And granted, please, if you're listening right now, I know you want to get up, you want to pee, you want to be by yourself. I understand. I've been there, but it feels good to have this behavior that your baby constantly wants to do. It feels good to have that validated. That's what would feel good. But except we're being told oh, you're creating a bad habit. You're you know, your baby's not going to learn how to self-soothe. You're spoiling them. You're doing this and this and that. And it feels like, okay, this feels natural. This feels normal. This feels like what I should be doing. But all these people are telling me I'm doing it wrong. And then it feels awful.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing feels awful. And so you're trying to figure out, what do you do? Do you listen to your gut? Who can hear their gut anymore? Because it's so drowned out by society, by books, by doctors, by all these people telling us all these things, like that you got to push this baby. You got to push this baby, into independence.
Right.
And you do that by stopping breastfeeding early. You do that by letting them cry. You do that by putting them to sleep really far away. You do these things by creating this distance. And this is what we're told.
Right.
This is normal in our culture. And this is what...
Yeah, but society tells us, go back to work at 6 weeks. That's
right.
Okay. That's normal. 3 months is the longest you can be out. And your baby should be being handled by somebody else at that point.
Right.
All of this leads to separation from your baby. And it's totally against what instinctively is the way it should be.
Right. And so the bottom line... The suckling motion that your baby does when they're breastfeeding, that is the only thing that they know that is soothing. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. That's what it is. That's why it exists. And that's why their mouth goes on your boob. That's it. Bam. 100% of what you're doing is that. And you are never, ever wrong when you're doing that. You can never. It is impossible to spoil your baby, toddler, small child, whatever, with breastfeeding.
Right. No,
it is impossible.
Or attention, or, it's just...
Or attention, yeah.
They need you.
You can't, you cannot spoil... If breastfeeding is involved, it is not spoiling. Bottom line. And nursing them to sleep, that is difficult. Nighttime is babies are wired, humans are wired to be aware at night. Back when we were just starting out as humans, this was a dangerous time.
Yeah.
Nighttime was a dangerous time with predators around, and we are wired to be more aware.
Hormones
more
are
protective
different
at night.
Everything is different at night, and that baby wants to be close to you because of that, for one thing. But this is a normal thing. It is normal. And why would we want to leave our baby crying when everybody's going to be up, when everybody could just be in a relaxed place when you've nursed them to sleep?
Right. Or maybe you don't even, maybe you don't let your baby cry, except you're there, you're trying to soothe them to sleep without breastfeeding, and all they want to do is nurse. Mm-hmm. That's all they want to do. And then, and everybody's you're losing sleep because you're just trying to avoid that one step of nursing them,
right? Which
is the only step. Because for fear that they're being spoiled, that you're creating a bad habit. And this is how they're wired to go to sleep. And James McKenna from the Mother Baby Sleep Laboratory at Notre Dame, he's we've talked about it before, especially in the co-sleeping. And we have an episode on co-sleeping that is very popular.
It is very popular.
You might like it because it's similar to this topic, but we talk about James McKenna a lot there, and he has a lot of research on this type of thing of bed sharing and the safe co-sleeping guidelines. But he has an article called it's called something like Why Human Babies Do Not and Should Not Sleep Alone. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic, and we can put the link.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
On the site under this episode, so you can read it. But it's a fantastic thing, and it just really explains, because a lot of this, when we're talking about nursing to sleep, we just start to think bad habit, he'll never stop doing it, it's going to be a problem, and all we need to do is kind of just do a little bit of reading, do a little bit of talking, and just to re-educate a little bit. And just shift that perspective away from this kind of cultural weirdness that's happened over time, over the 40-hour work week, and, this falsity of independence that we are so happy to talk about here. You know, we need to just relearn this.
Right. One thing I don't understand too is where, like, people have told me all sorts of different things. Like, oh, at 3 months they should be going to sleep on their own. At 6 months they should be laying down by themselves. At 8 weeks they should be. It's like, where do these numbers come from? Like, where is this coming from?
Totally made up.
It's all of it is made up. All of it is what people think should be happening. Oh, at their 8 weeks they should be sleeping this late. They shouldn't be eating anymore overnight. They're only trying to manipulate you into getting up with them. They're, you know, like, that is not the case. You know, that is not what's happening. And one of the other things that drives me crazy, you were saying earlier, like, you know, the phrase that you hated. And the one thing I hate is when people say to me, the baby is using me as a pacifier.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, we use the pacifier as a replacement for the mother. Mm-hmm. That's what the pacifier is. Why anybody thinks that a mom is like a piece of plastic that the baby is just being, you know, pacified with. That's not how it is. Don't ever think of yourself as what you are giving to your baby when you nurse them is something that they could never get anywhere else ever, that they will have with them for the rest of their lives. It's not just a way to eat. It's not just, okay, they're getting milk, they can get it any way they want. No, it is way more than that. Feeding, like, the nutrition they get out of it is just a small portion of the benefit that they're getting. Like, there's so much more to it. And people are like,
breastfeeding is so much more than food. Yeah.
So much more than food.
And more on that after a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Are you suffering from sore or cracked nipples? You are not alone, and help is on the way. Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm is organic and lanolin-free, made with natural ingredients to heal, protect, and moisturize. It is safe for both mom and baby, and there is no need to wipe it off before breastfeeding. Head to fairhavenhealth.com and use promo code BADASS for 10% off your order.
Yeah,
breastfeeding is more than food.
It is more than food. And people need to really start realizing that and start identifying it as, this is a way to soothe my child. This is a way to comfort my child. This is a way to make my child more confident in his own being. This is a way to help my child learn how to self-soothe. You know, there's so much more to it than just, okay, they need to eat. They're getting up at night because they need to eat. Well, they shouldn't need to eat anymore. They just want you to come in there. They just want you to come in and nurse them. So just, you know, it's like, we get mothers.
Don't be fooled. Don't be manipulated by them.
Because God knows they won't manipulate you later, right? So the thing that really is, like, I understand that mothers are, we're tired. You know, we are tired. Some of these mothers, like, sleep an hour at a time. And it's like, it's so hard to try to function when you have not had a full night of sleep in, 6 months, and you just want to be able to do that. And it's like, it will happen, but your baby needs you. Like, that's kind of the bottom line. I don't want to sound cruel or anything, but that's just, they need you.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what, if we can, like, a part of the whole, like, re-education is learning about how normal it is to lay down with your baby. Mm-hmm. How, if you create that safe space for your baby, which you can, again, look at James McKenna's website, that you can just lay down and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And they can stay latched on, and you can sleep more.
Everybody does. Everybody sleeps more.
The research shows that, that bed sharing parents get more sleep. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say that it is really annoying to, like, I remember I nursed my children to sleep, both of them. And I do remember at night, like, when it was time, like bedtime, where I'd want to go in, or to nap time, whatever time, when I'd be laying in the bed nursing them to sleep, I'd be like, okay, they're sleeping. I would love to get up. Mm-hmm. I would love to just get up, not hold them, have some time to myself where I can just watch TV, or I can make myself something to eat, or I can clean, or do all these things that you wish you wouldn't do, but you're going to do anyway.
Right.
And I know, and I understand that. And, there's, so first of all, you have to know that if you're struggling to do that and your baby doesn't seem to want to let go, that your baby is normal.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong. It's just like normal. This is what's supposed to be happening. But if you kind of study their sleep patterns a little bit, you might get to a point, I got to a point with both of my boys, where I could nurse them to sleep. And if I hit that window just right, I could slip my finger in, press down on my nipple, pull it out real gently, and I could sneak away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really nice. It was really nice. And I still nursed them to sleep. They got what they needed. And of course, they're going to wake up. You don't get to have 10 hours to yourself now.
Right.
But you get to do a few things. And sometimes they'll sleep longer than usual. And it's really, you know, there's ways that you can still nurse to sleep and still be able to have a little bit of. And they're going to go to sleep easier. So yeah. It's really going to be actually helpful.
And I think if you try to think about it in like a long-term plan, like we were saying earlier, the more you nurture them, the more you respond to them, the easier they are at self-soothing.
Yeah.
And the quicker they learn it. So like, this is a situation where, you know what, the more you wear your baby, the more you do skin to skin with your baby, the more you keep in like just all day long, that baby is going to learn how to soothe on their own a lot faster.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly. They will learn. They will learn how, that their needs are being met. And so that's a good, because I want to talk about manipulation for a second, because we feel like we're being manipulated by babies. Yeah. So the thing about manipulation is, okay, before I had my kids, I worked as a social worker with abused and neglected teenage wards of the state. Talk about a group of manipulative kids. So this is where manipulation comes from. So manipulation comes from unmet needs. And so if we start not meeting the needs of our babies when they're young, we will see manipulative traits come out. Mm-hmm. This is how this happens. If you focus on meeting the needs of babies and children, they won't need to manipulate you to get whatever they're needing.
Exactly.
Because manipulation really isn't like we think about. You're just manipulating me to get me to get a chocolate chip cookie. No, nobody manipulates for a chocolate chip cookie. If they are, the chocolate chip cookie means something. It means attention. It means, you know, some sort of loving connection or something like that. Manipulation is in order to meet emotional needs that are being unmet. So you're not being manipulated by your baby. They don't know how to do that. They haven't learned that skill. Manipulation is a skill that they learn later on.
Yeah, it's almost like the parent is manipulating the baby into sleeping.
Trying to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what they want. That's a need that they need met.
Right, and so that's good because sleep is a need that you. Sleep
absolutely.
That's a valid need. But that's when we've got to start looking at how are you going to get sleep? How are you going to get that sleep? How are you actually going to get that sleep? Because fighting with the baby to not be nursing them to sleep is. That, I mean, maybe there are, obviously babies are born with different temperaments, and some go to sleep differently. Like Exley, Jack nursed to sleep until he was 6.5 years old. Mm-hmm. Exley, just by way of maybe being the second child, maybe being a little bit easier going, I would be getting Jack to sleep, and then my husband would be with Exley, and then while I was getting Jack to sleep, Exley would fall asleep with my husband, and then we would lay down, and he would sometimes already be asleep, and so he just kind of didn't always nurse to sleep because it was just the circumstances. I was happy, of course he would soon wake up, and then I would be nursing him, but I don't know where I was going with that, but there's different. There's different like, if you're trying to, I mean, if you're trying to, like, maybe you don't nurse your child to sleep, and maybe it just goes fine with you, and that happens. There are babies that are just like easygoing with certain things. And if that happened, then that's just what happens. But if you're fighting with your baby, if you're battling through it, you have to understand that your baby, there's nothing wrong with your baby. Cause that's the other thing is I remember that with Jack early on when I would just, I'd be doing what I saw in the movies and they said in the books. I'd be going down to put him down in his little bassinet to sleep and he would just wake up and I'm like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
He
I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time.
Yes. What's wrong with him? He doesn't know how to sleep. What's wrong? And it was, I didn't get it.
Right.
And then when I started to get it, he was sleeping. And then when I started to kind of research more about co-sleeping and, the safe ways to do that, soon the chaos was, and the chaos never end. Just that particular stressor alleviated a little bit because we started sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Once we brought Jack into bed and I started nursing him through the night, we were sleeping more. And there was times where I didn't like it, where I was like, my body is sore. I need to move. I can't move. There's this thing stuck to my boob. I can't,
yeah.
There's times where it's uncomfortable and it's so true. Like this is never going to be like totally pain-free. This is hard and it's uncomfortable sometimes and there's really no way around it. No. But there's nothing wrong with your baby.
No.
And it's not a bad habit. Your child will.
They figure it out.
It's not a bad habit. It's not a bad habit. It's a perfectly natural, normal thing that they are wired to do, that they are just born to do.
But babies need to build a security and a trust with you. Yes, you're their mother and their father or their, whatever your situation is, but they need to know that they can trust you and they need to feel secure about where they are now that they're in the world. And if they cry and nobody comes for them, they are learning that nobody is coming for them. They're not good. That is not learning self-soothing. That is learning distrust. But babies that are, if you're responding to them, you're nursing them to sleep when they need it. You pick them up when they're crying. You go and get them and nurse them when they wake up, whatever. They're learning, oh, my mom's always here. I cry. My mom is always here to get me. She's always here. And that builds their trust, that
builds their trust in everyone.
Yeah.
In the world at large. You are a super powerful person.
Oh my God.
You are setting the stage. You are setting the stage for every relationship they will ever have. You're setting the stage for the relationship they will have with society around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't start freaking out. Like, be proud.
Yeah.
Be proud. This is how big this is. Like, you are setting this entire life up right now for your baby. Do not feel guilty about picking them up. Just stop listening to these idiots who are saying, to just put them down and to stop spoiling them and to stop nursing them to sleep. And, don't listen to that garbage.
No, listen to your instinct with this. This is your baby. And bottom line, I tell people all the time, like, it's your baby. A lot of times people say, well, can I give a pacifier? Well, can I give a bottle? Well, can I do this? Or can I nurse him to sleep? Or this is your baby. It is your baby. And you make the decisions for what you think is best for your baby. Bottom line, like, nobody else makes that decision but you.
Right.
From now until the end of time.
Yep. And along with nursing to sleep always comes this crap with like, oh, but they're going to get cavities. So you can go back and see our episode about cavities and hear about that.
I just had that come up again this week somewhere.
What else comes with the nursing to sleep? I feel like there's more stuff. Like the cavities is, we have an episode on that. So listen to that.
That and the manipulation is really the biggest.
The manipulation,
Bad habits. You're going to learn bad habits.
Bad habits. Yeah. It just, it's gotten to the point where like, I go to a pediatrician where like when you go in, how the nurse comes in first and they ask you all the questions.
Yeah.
So they say, one of the questions they ask is, does the baby sleep in the crib or in the family bed? Like, that's just like one of the questions. Like they're like, they promote, you know, co-sleeping and yeah, it's just, that's just what they ask. And so, but most places are not like that.
No.
In most places, they'll be like, where is the baby sleeping? Oh, you know, you never should ever have a baby in the family bed. And again, you can see our episode on co-sleeping. But like, you know, again, you're going to go to a medical office for medical advice. You don't need to talk about all the other stuff that has nothing to do with, you know, their opinion on breastfeeding, their opinion on where people are sleeping, their opinions on, you know, all these things. There's really no one's business.
No.
It's not a medical situation. So, you know, listen to their heart, look in their ears, do your job.
This is what between you and your baby, you know, and you know what, like I hear all the time too, when moms go back to work full time, baby's 3 months old, 4 months old, moms go back to work and then babies are up all night again.
If they're lucky.
Right. And it's like, yeah, if they're lucky, they're going back at 4 months. Usually it's earlier than that. But those babies sometimes reverse because they want to be with their mom. And they haven't been with their mama all day long. And you hear these stories about mothers being like, well, yeah, the baby's up every hour now. I've gone back to work. And, you know, I just sit in the chair and rock him and rock him and rock him and rock. And it's like, oh my gosh. Just everybody lay down. You know, like it's just
lay down. Yeah, you got to lay down. Yeah. Right. That's the best thing you can do. And like I said, there's going to be a link here to the safe co-sleeping guidelines. You can read through that and you can set up a safe sleeping situation in any house, any situation that you're in. You know, you can figure this out. And yeah, if everyone just lays down, you can sleep. I mean, it's not going to be like it was before you had a baby.
Right.
It's just not going to be.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Babies, they also...
It will. I mean, it's apparently, eventually it happens. I don't know. I've heard.
Babies they need to learn how to, like, we needed to learn how to fall asleep. You know, we've talked about this before, like on their sleep episodes and stuff, that they need to learn how to fall asleep. Babies need to learn everything that they will do. And that goes from breastfeeding at birth all the way up. And when I was first working as a lactation consultant, I had this great mentor that I worked under, and she used to crack me up because, like, we'd be in the hospital and a mom would be like, oh, well, the baby's not latching, so I'll just give him a bottle. And she'd be like, so I guess when the baby doesn't walk after the first time they try, you're just going to carry them around for the rest of their life. Or maybe they won't tie their shoe right the first time, so then you're going to have to put them in Velcro shoes forever. Like, they need to learn how to do this. And we need, as their moms, to nurture them into learning how to do this. You know, it's just like the guidance that we need to get. It's going to be forever. Right now it's sleep. Later on it's going to be learning to tie their shoes and potty training and, you know, like all of these little obstacles that you come across that are hard that will pass. And it just... Yeah,
and all the phases that you're in, all the things that seem like they're never going to end and they seem horrible and it seems like there's no way out, they all end.
They do. They do. And then you look back and you're like, oh my God, wow. That's over.
I know. I look back to, I mean, Jack's only 7 years old. I look back to those early days. It seems like 40 years ago.
I know. It's so weird.
I mean, it seems like it's unbelievable. I can't even believe that was in this lifetime.
I know. It's crazy. You know, and it's just, it goes really, really quickly. So it's hard when you're in it, but you're doing the right thing. That's really, you know, what it comes down to.
When it comes to breastfeeding, you're always doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't make a bad decision that way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And breastfeeding works for everything. Breastfeeding is always the answer. If you're when in question, when in doubt, whip it out.
Whip it out.
Okay, so thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And please share your experience in the review section on iTunes, and maybe you will be our review of the week. And head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com for sponsor links, promo codes, and all of our other episodes. And you can now find us on YouTube at Badass Breastfeeding Podcast.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.